My name's Nell Nancy Ayotte. I'm a visual artist and writer living in Victoria, BC, working out of my home studio. My art is deeply inspired by maximalist decor, art of yesteryear, and sort of a myriad of cultures that I really enjoy including in my practice, sort of a kaleidoscopic look at the world and its diversity. I work primarily in watercolor. I'm inspired by community, fluidity. Femme opulence is a term that people have used to describe my work. I mean, I find a lot of my inspiration in nature. I find a lot of my inspiration from fashion. I really like using lots of pattern and, a variety of colors to convey beauty and diversity. Something that I really enjoy doing is getting glimpses of other people's homes and sort of their family or community unit and including those into my pieces. It's a really interesting way to get to know strangers and create something wherein they can see themselves. I leave the faces out of my work. I strive to create pieces that people can sort of insert themselves into or recognize friends, families, loved ones, strangers in as well. My process, I feel like I work backwards. I do this with writing as well, where I'll start with the last line of a story and then find my way to the beginning. My paintings are often like that as well, where I'll have sort of the image entirely done in my mind, and then it's just about taking it from, behind my eyes onto the paper. I start with pencil and move forward from there. It's always, I should say, the exoskeleton of the piece is in my mind's eye, and then once it's on paper, then I bring in all of the patterns and the colors. So it's never fully done until the page kind of takes form and the colors kind of work themselves into the mosaic that they become. I became a dental hygienist so that I could afford art supplies, and it really worked out. I ended up really loving the sort of wellness and care aspect of dental hygiene, and it did create this really beautiful bridge for me to then focus more on art. More recently, I've sort of transitioned to making art full-time, which has been a really fantastic experience, being able to immerse myself in the creative process and sort of focus on what it is that I'm doing presently and where I hope to go in the future. I currently work under the sort of artist name Girl called Alaska. I've been creating under that name for, I think, almost a decade now. It's become a really interesting and sort of really heartwarming experience to move around my home city and see my paintings out in the world, and so much so going to people's houses for the first time and seeing them up on the wall, and that's also really exciting. Again, having people identify with the piece so readily that they see themselves in it, or they see their grandmother, sisters, friends. I recently had my first gallery show at the Art Gallery of Greater Victoria. I got to be a part of their Small Winter Work series, which was really exciting, sort of the first official gallery. And I had my first solo show earlier, or I guess late this year, just a couple months ago, at Ophidia Tattoo, which is a fantastic space. Their team were so gracious to keep my art up on the wall for 2 whole months, so we got to see a lot of ink being done, and it just seemed like such a nice thing for the paintings to be able to absorb other artists and have that absorption be received.
My name is Candace Marynuik. I started tattooing a little over a year ago during the COVID-19 pandemic. I had some really good experiences with tattoo artists and some really bad ones, and I kind of liked the way the industry was moving, and so I decided I wanted to be a part of that. I've been an artist most of my life, but never really found a medium that I wanted to grow into, and so tattooing has been that for me. I started at Ophidia here in June of this year, so I've only been here a few months, but I opened my books officially in March of 2022. Outside of tattooing, I went to school for marketing. I have a diploma in marketing management from Douglas College. After attending Douglas College, I worked as a graphic designer briefly and went to school online for that. So that kind of followed into my digital artwork experience, and I worked in communications and as a graphic designer for the provincial government for a few years, and realized I was more doing admin work and it was kind of stifling me a bit creatively. So I moved into public engagement, and I do that full-time on the side for the BC government, but now I can focus all of my creative energy into tattooing, which is something I really enjoy. I'm still kind of finding my style, but I really like to take reference from Renaissance paintings and old surrealism paintings. I have a big spot in my heart for Frida Kahlo. A historically bi woman, she's phenomenal and a big icon for me. There's a lot of artists that I really cherish from art history and centuries ago. So I really like to incorporate some of their work into my flash and kind of redo them in how I would like to see them or tattoo them. I also really like to play with light in my tattoos, so making sure that there's a point of reference for where the light is coming from and touching on that. And I think those fine little details are really what do it for me. There's just like a great sense of satisfaction in doing a tiny little face on a tattoo, because it's not where you put the ink that matters, it's the clear space around the ink that kind of brings it out, like the white space, if that makes sense. And it's just as important as where the ink goes. The best thing about being an artist is that you can continually change what you're doing and get excited about new things. I'll be going from doing a super fine line piece to wanting to do more shading, to wanting to go back to super fine lines. It's definitely not the same industry that it was at least 10 years ago when I was graduating high school and looking at different avenues for my career. You can definitely make it your own now, and you can ask for help where you need it. The self-taught community is really kind and generous, especially in Victoria. There's a really big one, and most people are willing to give you advice if you ask for it. So that's kind of my biggest thing, is if you have questions, don't be afraid to ask. I wouldn't have this position here at the shop if I hadn't reposted something the owner, Brianna, had shared on her social media, because I thought it was really neat, and I love like amplifying artists' work that I really enjoy. And so Brianna shared a post, and then I reshared it to my story on Instagram, and that's how she found me. That's kind of how it happened. Ophidia has been an amazing part of my life so far. I've met so many wonderful people and artists, and we've had just such great experiences here and continue to share this space with the community. It's so loving. Like right now we have a girl called Alaska whose name is Nell, and her work is up in the studio. It's nice to see that it's a big art community in this space, and it's not just tattooing, and so it makes a big impact when you're in here.